Richician!
Hey YouTube, welcome to part 3 where I talk about 2006, and I just wanted to point out that my deck from the October 2005 format was once featured in the Yu-Gi-Oh! World magazine. Let's see how many of you remember that. But yeah, this is it. This was my deck from back then. Might be a bit blurred. But focus please, come on. Or not. Well, here's the list. God, why can't I get it to focus? Oh, now I can. There we go. So yeah, what I did at the time was once again mix Dark Magician and Warrior cards together. If you want to pause and read them, then yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I submitted it back in 2005, but yeah, this magazine came out pretty much at the start of 2006. Anyway, now that I've shown you this, we'll continue the history. So yes, 2006. So things started off with a Watford tournament. Yeah, this was a one-off, basically, where we got together and mainly did something with fun decks, to be honest. I remember Jamie Stafford, one of the well-known players from back then, playing Arcana Knights, or a Yugi deck, while someone else was playing Ectoplasma. Don't remember much else. Although but Igor still decided to play Meta. It wasn't Stein OTK though, whereas me and Brendan played our usual decks. I think I won like 2 or 3 matches, not sure, one of which was against Exchange of the Spirit. Actually, I just remembered something about that deck profile. Yeah, it did play a copy of Mobius the Frost Monarch, and yeah, I know it's a card that I hate, but at the time, Mobius was more of a love-hate card than anything, and this was when this was long before I hated all the Monarchs. I only played it as an extra form of back row removal. You know, that was it, and it actually helped me win against the Ectoplasma deck. But then, when Monarchs were more their own deck, that's when I started hating them. So I just wanted to clear that up before someone questions me on why I'm playing a card that I hate, or was, I should say. It doesn't even matter anyway. Like, playing a Mobius back then was then. You know, this is now. Like, things like this don't mean anything anymore. But anyway, getting back on topic, um, so yeah, there was that tournament. It was a lot of fun, followed by a normal tournament, which I did quite well in. I lost my first round, and one of my matchups was against an Exchange of the Spirit deck, which I did manage to beat. It was a 3-1, no, 2-1 win, but still a win nonetheless. Then I won my following 2 games, and then lost the following round because I lost against Cyber Dragon and Snatch Steel, basically. That wasn't great. Oh, there was something about 2005 that I actually forgot to mention. The Pharaoh's Tour qualifier. I can't believe I forgot that bit. Yeah, this was my first qualifying event for a bigger one, and I remember winning 4 matches. I can't remember how many there were in total. I think it was 7, and I won 4 of them, which was my best run in their tournaments yet. I know one of my victories was against a Dark World deck. I don't remember much about my other matchups, but I do know that I actually did qualify, but I ended up not going. I mean, I would have done, but there was a bit of confusion regarding fully qualifying, as there were these forms to fill out, and me, Brendan, and another friend of ours, Carlo, ended up having to leave before I was given the form, and as a result I didn't go. Oh well. But anyway, so yeah, going back to 2006 now, where things should carry on in the proper order. So yeah, after that tournament, a structure deck for Dark Richician actually came out. The Spellcaster's Judgment one. That's the one that gave us Dark Eradicator Warlock and released Magical Dimension to the TCG, which I was very excited for. And Magical Dimension just gave Dark Magician and other Spellcaster decks a huge boost, and yeah, basically changed a lot for those decks, and in a great way. I can't remember how many copies of each of Magical Dimension were in that structure deck. I know I did get a couple of them, and also sometime before that a copy of Magician's Circle, which helped out a lot and was a great way to bring out Dark Magician Girl with ease. And then I remember there was a regional coming up, and this would be the first regional tournament I ever played in. So yeah, this would happen come early February that year, and when my deck was checked, I was told that cards from the structure deck weren't legal, and I had to take them out and change it. I was like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? But no such rule was written down, like, anywhere, at least not as far as I remember. So yeah, this royally fucked me over big time. Thankfully, I did have spare cards on me that were in my Dark Magician deck that could help, but not that much. And that stupid rule just screwed me over for the day. and I ended up not doing very well when I really wanted to, because yeah, at the time I wanted to qualify for a massive event like the Nationals or Pharaoh's Tour final or Summer Cup final, things like that. I wanted to make my mark like in the Yu-Gi-Oh world and just do well in a tournament with an original non-meta deck. But yeah, this would be something I'd try several times, but always got screwed over in some way. So yeah, in the first match I lost against a random deck, which was really annoying. I remember seeing Skilled Dark and Ancient Gear Beast. Like, it was just shocking, and at the time I hated losing to random decks. Like, just a bunch of cards that don't complement each other. And it's like, how did I lose to this? I should have won this matchup. And then I lost against a burn deck. Just my luck. That was frustrating. And even when I sided in Des Wombat and had that in throughout the whole duel, I still lost. And there was a wave motion cannon on the field charging up, even though I wasn't worried about it at that point. But then Lava Golem was dropped on me, and then the cannon was fired off. So fucking cheap. And then in the third round I got paired against another burn deck, and I was like, why am I being pitted against all the random decks and burn decks? But luckily in this one I had a lot more luck. It was a struggle, but I managed to win that 2-1. And then I lost the following round. I don't remember what it was. Then I got a Dark Magician mirror match. Playing against someone who I was friends with for a while until we lost contact, like some point in 2007 or 8. Shame, really. Unfortunately, I lost the mirror match. Then I went up against a guy playing a skill drain deck, which was a struggle, but I won against him 2-1. And then my last round was against a kid playing a random deck who I beat fairly easily. So I won 3 matches, but it wasn't enough to qualify for the Nationals, because I know at the time, I don't know if this still applies now, you had to make the top 8 in order to qualify for the Nationals, and I just didn't do enough. Then after that, my Dark Magician deck had some very good changes, which I had help with. That's when the Gravekeeper engine was included. Now, obviously, I hate Gravekeepers, but Spy and Guard proved to be very helpful assets. In fact, they're the only Gravekeeper cards that I actually like. And they were just great for tribute fodder, whether it was for tribute summoning or using with Magical Dimension. Plus, Guard had a very useful effect to bounce an opponent's monster back to hand. And they just helped out a lot, and my deck just ran a lot more smoothly and a lot better. Meanwhile, Brendan changed decks as well. He changed from a Spell Canceller to Perfect Machine King. Yeah, Perfect Machine King is his absolute favourite card, and he wanted to make a deck with that. And there was a cool, unique way to run it. It would also be ran with spies and stuff, and be played alongside Bazoo the Soul Eater and Return from the Different Dimension, as the idea was Bazoo would banish some monsters, power itself up, then you'd bring them all back with Return from a Different Dimension, which then gives you tribute fodder for Perfect Machine King. Although he also did run Blowback Dragon and Ancient Gear Beast. Fun fact, they also used to be cards that I hated a lot, because they just countered a lot of my monsters and cards too easily. I mean, I know Blowback required luck, but it wasn't great when either face-down monsters or battle traps would get popped, along with the fact that Ancient Gear Beast just kills half my deck, and it means that any flip effect monsters and Apprentice Magician won't activate if they get destroyed by it. Yeah, it was annoying. But yeah, sometimes I could win against him, sometimes I couldn't. But at least our decks were still kind of even, and for a while I thought of Brendan as a rival as well as one of my best friends. My deck did start doing better in the Trotters tournaments, and I'd still win an average of 3 matches, but sometimes it would only be 2, which wasn't great. And then the April 2006 ban list came into effect. That's when we could have Mirror Force and Graceful Charity back, although Cyberjar did get banned, which was unfortunate at the time. It was quite a shock that it was unbanned last year. But rather annoyingly, Stein OTK didn't get hit at that point. By this point, I had 3 decks. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention something else about 2005. Chris, my brother, got back into the game in the summer of 2005, and I'd have games with him sometimes. With his, he had his Blue Eyes deck, of course. And would eventually get the mighty Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which finally made Blue Eyes Shining Dragon playable at last. Anyway, so at this point I had 3 decks, Dark Magician, Warriors, and Exodia, and I was working on a 4th deck, Elemental Hero. Like, that was in the works ever since 2005. So it was still a work in progress, of course. And then there was a point in April that year where I entered a traditional format tournament. Because the Trotters tournament would run 2 tournaments, advanced and traditional, and I thought I'd entered traditional just because I could, I guess, despite mentioning earlier that I regretted entering one in December 2005. My deck was a mixture of my Dark Magician deck and Yugi's deck. Yeah, I also did have a Yugi character deck, I think, even back then. So I sort of combined the 2 decks together to see how it would do, and it did amazingly well. I won 4 out of 5 matches. My only loss was against a Chaos deck. which was typical because one of my wins was against a Chaos deck, another one was against Silent Swordsmen, whereas the other two were just randomers. And in one of those random matchups, Exchange was played on me twice in a row, and I think my Dark Magician girl was taken away from me, but I got Armed Dragon level 5, which I used against him to win the match, and I ended up finishing 3rd. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I love how I did better in a traditional format tournament than an advanced one. Then sometime after that I tried to change the way I played Dark Magician, because at that point I'd gone 3 tournaments in a row where I only won 2 matches. So I decided to try out Strike Ninja and DD Scout playing, so yeah, Dark Magic Strike was born. But sadly that didn't really fare much better. I can tell you how I did with it though. I lost the first 2 matches. One, don't remember, the other was something Bruce was playing. Then I won against this random stall deck. Game 1 went quite smoothly, but in Game 2 I remember I got stalled by Ordeal of a Traveller. In fact, at one point there were 2 copies of it on the field, which was annoying. For those who don't know what it does or don't remember what it does, sorry, just checking the time. Basically, when the opponent declares an attack, they have to declare a type of card that's in your hand. Actually, I think you take a random card from your hand and the opponent has to guess what it is. Hang on. Maybe Edo Pro can give the exact wording. Yeah, here we are. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can... What? You can? Your opponent? I guess it meant you can do this. Your opponent chooses 1 random card in your hand, yeah, that's how it works, and calls the type of card, monster, spell or trap, and if they call it wrong, the attacking monster is returned to hand. And not only that, I was also stuck behind this monster with Malice in the name. It wasn't Doll of Demise. Malice Assailants, that was it. I think I was stuck behind 1 copy and then 2 or more copies. Malice Assailants effect is, once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, send 1 card from the top of their deck to the graveyard for each Malice Assailant in your graveyard. Oh, wait, yeah, I remember now. This must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. I think there was just 1 engraved to start off with. Yeah, this was so annoying and a long, difficult game. But eventually I drew into Heavy Storm, blew his back row away, and then won the match, and with 2 cards left in my deck. Then I won against someone who was running Skilled Dark Magician and Monarchs in the same deck. Then I went up against a zombie deck, which screwed me over with Raw Decree. I managed to get one win against him, but still lost the whole match. Unfortunately, all of my losses were 2-1. So, yeah, unfortunately, Dark Magic Strike didn't do as well as I hoped it would. But I still kept that around as a separate Dark Magician deck, and then had my pure Dark Magician deck, because Dark Magic Strike was hella fun. And that long game just reminded me of another annoying tournament game I had, like a few weeks before. This was in one of the tournaments where I only got 2 wins. I know it was a round 4 match, and we just kept countering each other's plays and stalling each other out. And I remember in game 1, I decked him out. Not intentionally. It just got to the point where we were just countering each other so much and couldn't touch each other's life points, and he scooped after drawing his last card. Then I lost game 2, I think. Although I think it was round about this time where end of match procedure was called. I remember everyone else finished before us. That's basically what this match was, just blocking each other's attacks, stopping each other doing damage. It was so annoying, and it went to a 3rd game, so it was 4-turn rule, I think, but then it went beyond that and went to sudden death, which was a thing that happened if neither player did any damage to each other or lost any life points in some way or another, because back then it was done so that matches wouldn't end in a draw, and I remember him having no monsters and trying to do damage with an apprentice magician, but he activated Wabaku. But I had some battle traps set, and he activated Royal Decree, which just horrified me. And then he summoned an old vindictive magician and attacked the game, basically. Stupid Royal Decree. Yeah, I lost that whole annoying match through end of match procedure, all because of Royal Decree. Absolute bullshit. Anyway, moving back along, we come to London Comic Con in May 2006, where I went on both days, because there were actually little Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments running. And how it worked is there'd be it would be a straight up knockout contest, considering of like 3 or 4 duels, and with each win you'd get a pack. Now there was one where I lost right away with Dark Magician, but entered another one with my Warrior deck and won the whole thing. But I only did 2 on day 1. Then on day 2, I came back and Brendan joined me. I can't remember how he did, but we played in quite a few of them, and yeah, I actually won quite a few of them until the last one, which was against a Monarch deck playing Raw Decree. Yeah, even if it wasn't Monarchs causing me problems, Royal Decree was. It was so annoying. I drew into Breaker and got rid of Decree, and I was like, yes, I got rid of it, I can use traps. Then I ended, and then another Raw Decree was flipped up. It was like, oh, come on. Then June came about, and used my warrior deck again in a tournament, and finally got 3 wins. And this was also around about the time where my elemental hero deck was finished. Oh, and I nearly forgot something. Were they kept in this binder? Yeah, I kept a few of my the cards I pulled from those packs that I won in that tournament. Yeah, these were what I pulled, and I've just kept them as trophies ever since. So yeah, my elemental hero deck was finally finished, like I said. And then, like in late June, we did more of those little tournaments at Trotters, the same as what was at London MCM, and I decided to play quite a few of my decks, actually. Because yeah, you could enter as many of them as you want. Yeah, that was the idea. So I used my elemental heroes, my Yugi deck, my warriors, I think Dark Magic Strike as well, and Exodia, I can't remember. And I definitely saved Dark Magician for last. Yeah, I didn't win any of those tournaments, unfortunately. I remember giving my elemental heroes 2 goes, though. Oh yeah, and I think they were best of 1 games. That's something I forgot to mention. Yeah, unfortunately, my elemental heroes didn't do very well in the first ones. I lost against a Demise deck in the first attempt, and then I lost against a standard cookie cutter deck thing in the second attempt. And like I said, I don't remember if I entered Exodia or Dark Magic Strike. I think I did, but I don't remember how I did with them. I know I wouldn't have won any of them. And here's the funny thing, my Yugi deck actually did the best out of all of them. I made it to the last round, and I think I lost against Monarchs. Then I started off well with my warriors. I think I beat someone who was playing elemental heroes, and then I lost against a burn deck. That sucked. And Dark Magician didn't fare any better either. I think I won the first round, but lost the second one, and yeah, that was the end of that. And then there wasn't really much else to say throughout regarding the following months. I got all the cards I wanted for my elemental heroes, and just kept improving that with every form of support that came out. And I think I even decided to try and play Destiny Heroes and Neospatians, which would take a while to complete, but I did eventually. and I was also working on an aggro deck, because why not? I just wanted to try out other things, really. Ooh, this could be a longer episode again. But then I came up with the idea of running Sacred Phoenix of Nephis and Hand of Nephis in my Dark Magician deck. Like, round about the time the September 2006 list came into effect. And yeah, I think this was one of the worst lists ever, or at least it's one that I hate, as I already talked about before, because Stein OTK didn't get hit, well, apart from Giant Trunade getting semi-limited, but that didn't do anything. And Ring of Destruction came back, which, like I said, really pissed me off. But there were a couple of good changes. I mean, Snatch Steel got banned. What was the other change that I did like? I can't remember. But yeah, I decided to play Sacred Phoenix and Hand of Nephis in my Dark Magician deck because I was playing Apprentice Magician, and Hand is searchable, well, not searchable, special summonable off Apprentice, along with the fact that I could gather some monsters on the field, like with my Apprentice engine, the Gravekeeper engine, Treeborn Frog, which I started running a few months before, and Scapegoat. And yeah, this idea really worked. It really did complement the deck. I actually did well the first time I used this build. But it was the typical average thing that would happen, where I'd lose my first round, win the following 3, and then lose the last one. Which I remember being against Tobias. This was the second time I ever played against him. First was back in March, when I played my warrior deck against him. I don't remember what he played, though, back then. I can't remember what he played at that point. I know it was something with Hydra Jedon, but yeah. He beat me 3-1. And this was also when we started interacting more with each other and properly became friends. And then during this time, he would tell me about the Pharaoh's Elite tournaments, which Derek ran. And he asked if I was interested in going along to them, and I said, yeah, sure. These would run on a Saturday, like either at a hall or his house. So yeah, come October, I went along for the first time, and yeah, this was another moment. That was a big change in my life. That would change the course of my life, pretty much. So yeah, that's when I met the old gang, Derek, G, Blue, or when he was Sam. And would meet a bunch of the others as time went on, like Clive, Steve-O, Shaggy, Jonesy, the Gardner brothers, Davies, Gillett, two Maxes, Spiky Paul, I think I mentioned Ross. But yeah, this was when I first met some of them. yeah, I definitely remember. Obviously met Derek, G, Sam, um, and Ross. Plus, um, uh, young Liam, not Neo Nexodus. Was someone different. Um, and yeah, these tournaments were done as well. The rounds were done as best of one games for some reason, um, but it was fine. I rolled with it, and yeah, Blue was my very first opponent, and it was a Dark Magician mirror match. But he played a few cards that I don't play in mine, like Mysterious God, which kind of messed me up at one point, because I did get Sacred Phoenix out, but Mysterious God put it on top of my deck, and then I struggled after that and lost that one. Then another match I remember was against Liam, and I remember flipping up Scapegoat and bringing out my homemade sheep tokens, the ones I made myself, which I use for my September 07 format Dark Magician deck. Here they are. These are the exact same tokens, which I've had since the mid-2000s, and he just burst out laughing. Then he showed them to Derek, and he chuckled. Yeah, I won that match. I don't remember how my other matchups went, but apparently I did enough to make top 8. I was like, oh, sweet. And then I got pitted against Derek, who was either playing Cyber Dragons or Demise OTK. No, I think it would have been Cyber Dragons that did run Cyberstein. Yeah, I put up a good fight against him. Yeah, I won one duel against him, but ultimately lost the whole match. But still, the whole day was just a good time, and I'm glad I came. And I did well for my first time, so yeah, not bad for the new guy. And I decided to come back, and I kept coming back ever since. Then the day after, there was another Pharaoh's Tour qualifier tournament at Trotters, where unfortunately I didn't do very well in that one, especially since like one or two of my matchups were against Stein OTK, and then I remember in round 3 there was a bit of confusion regarding pairings, and Chris actually came along with me. This was earlier in the summer. He came along to the tournaments. But he only came along for 5 of them, including this one. He used Blue Eyes in the first 3 and Zombies in the last 2. Yeah, we sat at the wrong tables, basically. Yeah, and I could have sworn I was told to sit at that table while Chris was at the other one, and I don't remember how he did in his match, but I won mine. But when we were given the slip, I was like, wait, my name's not Chris. And as a result, me, him, and our opponents got a double game loss. Yeah, that was really awkward. But like I said, I swear I was told to sit at that table, so like it wasn't completely my fault. Of course, some of the others found this very funny, and I remember this actually helped Brendan qualify for the Pharaoh's Tour finals. So at least I helped out a friend in the process, but yeah, other than that, it was a complete scrubbing. And then some point after that, Chris ended up quitting the game again. For some reason. Maybe it was because of the competitive side of the game, I don't know. Not that I blame him, but it just sucks that he quit again. Yeah, after that, on a lighter note, I attended a tournament that Derek was holding at his house. I don't remember my matchups well, but yeah, I did well enough to make top 8. But no further. I think I also met Derek's wife for the first time that day. Yeah, I would have done, considering it was at his place. And then I remember just a fun tag team duel where me and Tobias played against Ross and someone else, and we won that. Then after that, there was another Trotters tournament at the start of November where I did really badly for the first time since the first time I came, and only won one match. Yeah, and one of those matchups I lost because of Jinzo again. Like, I remember being in a bad spot, and I had Torrential Tribute set, and I saw he was about to tribute summon something, and I was ready to flip up Torrential, but it turned out to be Jinzo. I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, that was the end of that. Then, after that, I decided to play my Elemental Heroes in a tournament. I wasn't confident that I'd do very well, but I gave it a shot anyway. I did get a bye win, I do remember, but I remember my losses being against a beast deck and machines. I don't remember my other matchups. But I know Cyber Phoenix gave me some trouble in the machine matchup. Because I had Sakuratsu armor face down and I couldn't get rid of Cyber Dragon, but luckily I top decked Wildheart, attacked into the Cyber Phoenix, but it didn't help that much. It was still fun all the same. I also got Shining Flare Wingman out against someone at one point, but still lost the match, unfortunately. And then after that, there was a Trotters tournament before Christmas, which ended up being the last ever one. After that, the guy who ran them, Simon, just stopped doing them. I think the reasons why weren't really disclosed until a little later on. But I remember there was a rule change about sleeves, which I wasn't happy about myself, because we couldn't use clear sleeves or something with a reflective surface, which was annoying because I had sleeves for my Dark Richician deck, which were kind of reflective, but not really. But they were black with the Yu-Gi-Oh logo, and I liked those sleeves. I hated having to change over. But in that same tournament where I used my Elemental Heroes, I remember there was an incident where this kid was using clear sleeves, and he got disqualified for using them, and I guess he wasn't happy about it, and his mum then had a moan at Simon over it. And I think that's what led him to stopping doing them. Like, I'm not saying that's what actually happened. I'm just saying what I heard and what I was told about. Yeah, I guess it was a really bad moment for him. But as for that tournament, I took Dark Magician and did very well in that one. So let me see. I won my first match against someone. Wait, yes, I remember. Yeah, it was against a guy whose boss monster was Ancient Gears. And I lost the first game, and I almost lost the second one because I had some sheep tokens on the field, and Ancient Gear Golem came out, attacked one, did 3k damage to me. I couldn't do anything to get rid of Golem. Then on his next turn he attacked again, and I was dropped to 2,000. Yeah, it was 2,000. Then I drew into DD Warrior Lady and took a big gamble. I crashed it into Ancient Gear Golem and banished the both of them, but it left me on 500 points. But luckily he couldn't do any further damage, and I made a comeback and won the duel, and then I won the following duel, giving me the match. Then I lost against Stein OTK rather annoyingly, but something funny did happen in game 2, because I had some cards sided against him, one of which was Karibo, and my opponent got out had a field of Cyber Phoenix, Cyber Stein, and Cyber End-Dragon, powered up by Megamorph, and he went to attack the game with Cyber End, but I dropped Karibo, which took him by surprise, and then I played Swords of Revealing Light to try and stall him out. Unfortunately, he had Giant Trunade, which he played, bounced it back to hand, and then attacked the game. So annoying. Then my following matchup was against Dark World, and I remember I lost game 1, I think, but I won game 2, and game 3 was so close, and it went to the 4-turn rule, and God, I was just so nervous. But I drew into Graceful Charity, played it, and drew into Ceasefire. I was like, discarded 2, then set the Ceasefire ended, and then on his turn I activated it, and that gave me the win. Kind of dirty, I know, but yeah, it had to be done in that situation. Then I played against Tobias. Again, I don't remember what he played exactly, but he beat me in that. And then I went up against a zombie deck and struggled a bit, especially in game 1, where I top-decked Pot of Avarice and was going to play it, but then I saw I didn't have enough monsters in grave, especially since 1 or 2 of them got banished off Book of Life. So yeah, I scooped that one up, but I won game 2 and then game 3 somehow. So yeah, I managed to get 3 wins again and finished 20th out of I don't know how many people. But yeah, that was the end of the Trotters tournaments. But at least there was still the Pharaoh's Elite ones. Speaking of, I decided to play my Elemental Hero deck in a Pharaoh's Elite tournament just for the fun of it. And I think I actually did beat Dark World in round 1. It was a 2-1 win, but still a win nonetheless. Don't remember how I did afterwards, but I remember playing against Blue and Tobias. I don't think I beat Tobias, but I know I lost against Blue playing Dark Magician. I think I still topped all the same, which was really awesome. Oh yeah, and I did use my Exodia and Warrior decks in a couple of other Pharaoh's Elite tournaments. One I did well with Exodia, the other not so much. But I think I don't think there was a top 8 cut in the second time I used Exodia in a Pharaoh's Elite tournament. But I remember with the Warrior deck, I actually made top 4, which was great. My top 8 victory was against another old friend of ours, Little John, playing Elemental Heroes. But my loss in the top 4 was against G with generic dragons. I think I did win 1 duel against him, but lost the whole match. So that was the best I did yet. And also round about this time was when I built my generic machine deck. I made it in a similar way to Brendan's Perfect Machine King deck. Only I was playing more generic machines, and I built it in the same way as a Monarch deck, only instead of Monarchs it would be a bunch of machines, including Cyber Dragon, Jinzo, Ancient Gear Beast, Blowback Dragon, Machine King, and I even played a single copy of Perfect Machine King, because, well, I wanted to. And luckily, Brendan had a spare that he was quite happy to trade to me. And yeah, it's kind of funny how I started playing Beast and Blowback despite initially hating them. But I think I sort of got used to them and was able to play around them a lot more. And then I ended up playing them myself. Oh yeah, and yeah, sticking to December, we got an emergency ban list, and that was when Cyberstein finally got banned. So yeah, with that, Stein OTK was dead. Yeah, that basically covers 2006. I apologise that this was longer than I intended it to be. This was meant to be a half-hour video, but I guess there was more about 2006 to talk about than I thought. So, yeah, stay tuned for the next part when I talk about 2007 and maybe 8, depending on how long I talk about 2007. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Richician YouTube channel.